Ευλογημένη βασιλεία του Πατρός και του Υιού και του Αγίου Πνεύματος, νυν και αεί και εις τους αιώνας των αιώνων.
Δόξα σοι το δείξαντι το φως, δόξα έλειψης της Θεό, και επίγης ειρήνη, και λαθρόφησε το Κύριο.
The centennial of our church, the Hellenic Orthodox Church of the Annunciation. A time to look back and to look ahead. What brought the first immigrants to Buffalo? What can we learn from the years of labor and resilience, mourning and celebration? From a community united by its commitment to the Orthodox Christian Church, the traditions of faraway lands, and service to each other and to the world. Welcome to our celebration of a century of faith, tradition, and service. Faith. Buffalo was one of America's great boom towns, drawing people from all corners of the world. Greeks began to appear in the city in 1871, when for the first time city records show a Greek living in Buffalo. For the next 40 years, before the founding of the church in 1912, immigrants came to Buffalo from all over the Greek world looking for opportunity. Many of them lived in difficult conditions that would be intolerable today. However, they came to make a better life for themselves and worked hard to achieve it. They were brought together by a shared language, many common traditions, and most of all, their Orthodox faith. They sorely missed having a church of their own. The first Greek Orthodox wedding took place in the Russian Orthodox Church on Ideal Street in 1904. In 1907, 10 married couples and 60 bachelors decided to organize Greek Orthodox church services in Buffalo. The parish had an unsettled existence for the first few years, holding church services in different locations. The first priest, Father Constantine Papasausoglu, donated his time without any compensation. The Greeks of Buffalo wanted something more than a traveling liturgical life. A proper church would give the community weight and focus. They incorporated in 1911 and began raising funds to build a permanent church structure at 361 Oak Street at a total cost of $60,000, or about $1.4 million today. Thanks to the men who traveled across the northeastern United States soliciting contributions, the Hellenic Eastern Orthodox Church, Evangelismos, or Annunciation, was built in 1912. It was a glorious moment when the first church services were held on Christmas Eve of that year. The Oak Street Church would house the parish for over 40 years. Happy to have their own church for liturgy, holy days, and sacraments, they quickly realized that their children needed more grounding in faith. They started a school in 1916 that included both language and religious instruction. This was the origin of our current Greek school and was taught completely in Greek. We don't know exactly when altar boys began to assist in the liturgy, but by the 1930s the tradition was firmly established. Since then, hundreds of boys have participated in the mysteries of the church as altar servers. In the 1930s, the choir was formed to chant during the Divine Liturgy. Several of its directors were also composers whose music is still in use today. The 1930s were also notable for the new leader of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of North and South America, Archbishop Athenagoras. This devout and inspiring man, who became patriarch in 1948, became an American citizen and made a practice of traveling by train to many of the cities in his vast archdiocese. In 1937, the parish separated religious instruction from the Greek school, and our Sunday school was born, thanks to the energy and initiative of Mrs. Olympia Z. Pappas, who ran the Sunday school program for over 50 years. Thousands of children have been taught the faith by many dedicated volunteers ever since. World War II highlighted an issue. Although the Greek community had gained stature locally, when our young men joined the military, they found themselves without an identity. As late as the 1940s, Orthodoxy was not recognized as a separate religion in the state of New York. Priests were not considered clergy when drafted, and young men could not indicate Eastern Orthodox as their religion. When the church was noticed at all, it was seen as part of the Roman Catholic Church. Confronted by this discrimination in the draft for World War II, the Orthodox churches of Buffalo set out to change state and national policy. Led by George Phillies of our own Annunciation Church and Father Michael Gelsinger, a professor and priest, our local Orthodox churches and their hierarchs persuaded Albany and Washington to recognize the Eastern Orthodox Church as a distinct religion. Archbishop Athenagoras, impressed by how well the Orthodox churches had cooperated in the fight for recognition, led the effort to organize the first cooperative effort among the Orthodox churches in America, the Federated Orthodox Greek Catholic Primary Jurisdictions in America, with Buffalo's own George Phillies as chancellor. To mark this auspicious event, hierarchs from other Orthodox churches in America celebrated the first pan-Orthodox Divine Liturgy together at Kleinhans Music Hall on August 22, 1943. The spirit of this federation lived on in the later Standing Conference of Canonical Orthodox Bishops in the Americas, or SCOBA, and its successor, the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops of North and Central America.
Η καρδία μου το φόβο σου σκεπέστο, ταπεινοφροσιούσα, μη ψωθείς από πέση εξού παντικτήρμον.
Our devotional life has been enhanced by our cantors and Byzantine choir during church services, as well as by other ministries such as the gift shop, bookstore, library, Bible study classes, spiritual retreats, and book clubs. Young adults and children contribute to spiritual life as well. Through the youth choir, as junior members of the adult choir, and in the altar, children have helped with our worship services. By taking part in foreign missions, young adults have brought the Orthodox Christian faith and needed assistance to people on other continents. We also have been blessed to have young people attend the Holy Cross Seminary and the attached Hellenic College. Throughout the parish's history, we have been fortunate to have the services of many dedicated priests. Since 1945, our priests have been Father John Pallas, Father Chris Manioudakis, Father George Pantelis,
Christos Anesti. Christos Anesti. Christos Anesti. Christ is risen.
Father John Artemis,
Blessed is our God always, now and forever, and from all ages to all ages.
Father James Dukas,
Eleison imaso theos kada megaleosu, diamathas wapakuson keleison.
and our current parish priest, Father Christos Christakis. We are also fortunate to have Father Periklis Kalis to assist Father Christos in our parish. As our spiritual leaders, these priests have baptized our children, married us, and buried our loved ones. They have shared our joys and sorrows, as well as providing spiritual leadership to our community. Tradition. The founding fathers and mothers of our church were all born in Greece or in the Ottoman Empire in the 19th century. But during the 20th century, the church was enriched by many different backgrounds. More people came from Greece, of course, and the American-born children of immigrants created a more distinctly Greek-American way of life. Converts, whether spouses of church members or people drawn independently to Orthodoxy, required us to understand and communicate what was enduring about our culture as well as our faith. We have also been blessed to have Eastern Orthodox Christians of other ethnicities join our parish, including Albanians, Palestinians, Lebanese, Ukrainians, Ethiopians, and Romanians. All these distinct identities came together under the umbrella of a Greek Orthodox Church and supported our combined Greek, American, and Orthodox identity. The Hellenic Orthodox Church of the Annunciation has kept Greek culture alive for over a century. Our pride in our heritage has been on display many times over the years, most notably at the 1932 celebrations of the centennial of the city of Buffalo. Our parade float, a scale model of the Parthenon, won first prize. We won first prize again at the National Recovery Act parade a year later with our depiction of the famous people of Greek history and mythology. These awards were tremendously important to this young Greek community, which had felt that it had taken its place among Buffalo's more established ethnic groups and churches. The building at 1205 Delaware Avenue was called the Hellenic Cultural Center at its purchase, with plenty of room for Greek school classes, social clubs, dances, and other functions.
1205 Delaware Avenue, especially after Oak Street was closed, became the cultural center of the entire community, so that Greek school was there, choir practices were there, meetings of the Sons of Pericles and church societies. Everything took place in 1205 Delaware Avenue, and it thus fulfilled this promise of a cultural center. It was, I have very many fond memories of 1205 in that I met all my friends there. And it was just a great place to attend.
Dance has been important to our community in many ways. Who can forget the joy of dancing at a wedding or one of our many church dances? Or the pride we feel when we see our young people carrying on this tradition. Dance has also been a way to reach out to the community through the festival held by the International Institute of Buffalo and other events. One memorable contributor was Tina Kalin. Known as Fofo, she was a tireless promoter of Greek dance and culture inside and outside the church. With the help of Fofo and others like her, the tradition of Greek dancing remains a vibrant aspect of our community right through our 2012 Greek Fest. And where would dance be without music? The Buffalo community has been fortunate to have many fine musicians grace our events over the years. We have also brought in celebrities for local concerts. Nana Mouskouri performed here in the late 1970s. We brought Eleftheria Arvanitaki to Buffalo in 2001. And the Ars Nova group collaborated with composer Christos Hadzis for concerts in 1987 and 2012. Our community has never forgotten that Hellenic culture includes unparalleled contributions to Western civilization. One way of keeping that flame alive is through our Greek school, which not only teaches the Greek language, but makes the jewels of our heritage come alive for new generations of children each year. The students remind us of our proud heritage each year by commemorating Greek Independence Day, a tradition that reaches back to the founding of our community and involves a declaration by the mayor of Buffalo. For those who never learned Greek, or forgot what they knew, we have adult Greek language classes as well. Over the years, our cultural committee, book club, and special events have focused on the literature and art of our heritage, from poetry to icons and more. For most of our history, our parishioners have put on Greek theatrical performances at our own facilities and local auditoriums. This started with an all-male performance in 1913 of Golfo, which dramatizes a folk tale about a shepherd who abandons his sweetheart for the daughter of a wealthy landlord. Many times since then, parishioners have donned costumes and acted in Greek comedies and tragedies to raise money for the church, Sunday school, and other organizations. A 1949 production of Golfo was such a hit that the cast was invited to perform it at Toronto's Victory Theatre. Our young adults have provided important energy to our church's many activities. Some of us may recall the Children of Socrates and the Children of Hellas from the 1930s and 40s. The AHEPA affiliates Sons of Pericles and Maids of Athens were social and service organizations for many years. Goya, the Young Adult League, and the Orthodox Christian Fellowship with their affiliates still bring our young people together in faith, tradition, and service, just as their predecessors did. Many social clubs and societies have kept our traditions alive and brought us together. Regional societies, AHEPA, GAPA, and their affiliates provide service and social functions. Buffalo Airwaves have carried our culture and faith by broadcasting special events and our own radio shows. Events like church picnics and groups like our Seniors Club have brought us together in fellowship, strengthening the bonds of community.
And let's give them a great big
The biggest cultural outreach program of all is our annual festival, now known to Buffalo as Greek Fest. The festival was the brainchild of Father George Pantelis, who wanted to raise money by introducing Greek traditions and our church to the people of Western New York. The festival should need no introduction. Countless members of the community and friends have labored long and hard to bring our food, drink, dance, religion, and history to the greater Buffalo community since 1978. Over the years, the festivals have grown and changed, but every one of them has been a success. Service. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ called on us to serve our fellows. In our 100 years, we have served the church, we have cared for others in our congregation, and we have reached out to serve the world outside our parish walls. All three forms of service are the specialty of our own Women's Philoptochos Committee. You may not know that Philoptochos means Friends of the Poor, but you have recognized their philanthropic spirit in the drives for the victims of earthquakes, hurricanes, and other disasters. Their support of hospitals and foreign missions and other worthy causes, and their support of Holy Cross Hellenic College and St. Basil Academy. The Philoptochos is also active here in our own parish, supporting individuals and organizations in need, and raising money for important church undertakings, including the purchase of land and improving our current facility. During the Depression of the 1930s, Father Sophronios Karapiperis organized a soup kitchen for local Greeks in need so they would not have to depend on the charity of outsiders. He gathered donations from Greek and non-Greek businessmen alike, cooked much of the food himself, and served hungry people, sometimes as many as 150 in a sitting. Other organizations, such as AHEPA, GAPA, the Daughters of Penelope, and the Mothers Club, prided themselves on their service as well. Although these organizations are no longer active in Buffalo, they were an important part of church life from the 1930s to the 1970s. Many members of our church served in the armed forces during the First and Second World Wars, as well as other conflicts since, and some, particularly in the Second World War, made the ultimate sacrifice. The community as a whole participated in the massive Greek war relief effort of the 1940s, and individuals and groups have been benefactors to communities in Greece.
I proudly present Mr. Gregory Demakos.
We have been honored to have one of our parishioners, Gregory Demakos, serve our Greek Orthodox Archdiocese by becoming an archon, an honor bestowed by the Patriarch for outstanding service to the Church. Archons swear an oath to defend and promote the Orthodox Christian faith and tradition. Our most recent service initiative has been Orthodox Action, which began in 2007. In a few short years, Orthodox Action has made contributions to the well-being of the less fortunate through the annual Thanksgiving Day dinner for the needy and homeless, twice-monthly soup kitchens, and assistance to disabled and homeless veterans. Resilience and growth. Our church has seen its share of tragedy and triumph. We suffered a tremendous shock when our parish priest, Father George Pantelis, was murdered in 1979. The devastating fire of 2001 disrupted our community.
Very devastating for us to see the church the way it is. But thank God, no one was hurt.
The subsequent restoration succeeded for many reasons, including effective parish leadership, as well as support from Metropolitan Nicholas. And not least, because our community pulled together. Our ability to disagree in discussions and then act in a united fashion is a strength that our parish has shown many times. Forces that have torn other parishes apart have operated here as well, starting with the arguments of the monarchists and Venizelists between the world wars. But each time, our parishioners have risen to the challenge and, after airing our disagreements, have proceeded with God's grace in unity. The restoration of our church after the fire is perhaps the most dramatic expression of our resilience. We have shown that we can come together to face and overcome problems of any magnitude. We have seen our share of triumphs as well, beginning with the completion of our first church in 1912. The purchase of 1205 Delaware Avenue, the later purchase of 146 West Utica Street, the building of the DeMacco Center, and the long effort to add an elevator were similar achievements. We can also boast of the award-winning parade floats, our priests' engagement and leadership in the Buffalo community and beyond, and our many successful festivals. Father John Pallas had convinced the Archdiocese to select Buffalo to organize and host the 1960 Clergy Laity Conference of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of North and South America. This week-long conference, the first under Archbishop Iakovos, and the last to be held by an individual parish, was the occasion for the installation of the hand-carved bishop's throne donated by Gregory DeMacos. We were honored by the historic visit in 1990 of Patriarch Dimitrios, the first ecumenical patriarch ever to visit the United States. Buffalo was one of only 8 cities on his tour. During the 1990 stop in Buffalo, Dimitrios was accompanied by the future patriarch, His All Holiness Bartholomew. Our most recent achievement sets a foundation for the coming years. After 10 years of study, deliberation, and investment by a group of dedicated parishioners, the church now has additional property in the Metro Buffalo area. It gives us the opportunity to plan for the needs of future generations. This presentation is dedicated to everyone who serves this church. First and foremost, the priests and parish council members past and present, as well as to all the people who do what needs to be done. Teaching, singing, dancing, baking, cleaning, raising money, and 1,000 other activities which keep our traditions and our Orthodox Christian faith alive. As we embark on our 2nd century, we aspire to enhance our spiritual mission of serving our community for the glory of God.